Audio Jungle.
Now it's time to talk about one of the biggest dumpster fires. That's a great hat, by the way.
Thank you.
Is it a snapback?
No.
It's a fitted? It's a great hat. Now it's time to talk about one of the biggest dumpster fires of the 2023 season, and that was the Carolina Panthers.
The Carolina Football Panthers summer.
The Carolina Football Panthers. Thank you. 2-15, 2-7 at home, and then 0-9 on the road. I mean,
yuck.
What can you do?
You gotta win one on the road.
Key wins. They did win at the week after their bye week. Me and you, I think I texted you and gave you this play during the season. I bet on the Panthers money line at like plus 330 when they played the Texans right after their bye week, and they cashed. So
yeah.
So key wins against the Texans. The other one, I don't know. I forget who it was, but I didn't write it down.
It was,
so that great.
It was the Texans, and then week 15 against the Falcons.
Whatever. The Falcons were dumpster fire last year too, low key.
They were.
So real quick before we get into everything, key losses on the roster. So I'm trying to sit here and contextualize their thought process, like when they were trading Brian Burns. You trade Brian Burns for a second and a fifth. And I guess at the time, the first thing that I thought of was just like, why not pay him? Like, what downside is there to not paying him? And you're only getting a second and a fifth back in a trade. He's 26 years old. He's pretty good. I mean, that's not really the issue. And it seems like when you have a rookie QB on that deal, that's the time to be able to pay like an elite edge rusher. So I don't understand why they sold low. And even if you did want to trade him, why not sign him, let him play maybe a little bit better football, allow his trade value to rise, and then deal him at a different time? Like, he's 26 years old. There's an infamous offer out there that the Rams offered 2 firsts 2 years ago. So what is your thought process on that? Because obviously that's their biggest loss on their roster. And I'm still trying to figure out like what happened and why they didn't pay him.
My only thought is maybe they just think they're going to be bad for like the next 5 years, and having him, like, obviously having a guy like him on your defense is going to make your defense better as a unit, but maybe they were just like, hey, we're not going to be good for a while. Let's see what we can get. And I mean, the offer wasn't great, I don't think. I think they could have gotten probably a little bit more. But other than that, I really have no clue.
I mean, at least a first. You would assume, like, you're trading for one of the elite edge rushers in the game. He's 26 years old. You had to pay him. I mean, it just seems like a no-brainer. So maybe they know something we don't know, but still baffled by that move.
Maybe he didn't want to be there.
It doesn't matter. Honestly, like if he doesn't want to be there or not. I mean, if you make him, if you pay him, I mean, he's got to play. I mean, that's pretty much the case. I mean, he was still under contract for a year.
Yeah, but they didn't pay him. So like maybe they had that conversation of.
But this isn't the NBA.
I know that, but like we don't know what happened because we don't have any other valid reason as to why they wouldn't try to.
Well, we do. They're fucking stupid.
Well, okay, yeah.
That's
exactly right. They listened to what he said, and he was like, "Oh, I want to leave." And
I would be shocked. I'd be shocked if that was the case. I don't know if there's ever. I don't. There might be, but how often do you hear come out like, "Oh yeah, like somebody like demanded a trade from this team," like in the NFL? Like literally never.
I was just gonna say that we probably would have heard something about how he wanted to leave, but we didn't. So either they did a really good job of keeping it quiet, or they are just as dumb as we think they are.
Yeah, that's fair. So whatever. Brian Burns rant. Do you have any key losses on their roster other than him?
They lost Frankie Louvu, I'm pretty sure, right, at linebacker?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say that's probably a key loss. I think they lost Von Bell too. Free safety.
Sounds like, yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, I would mark those two out. So, and then they lost Justin Houston, which he's old, but
old as hell. So additions on this roster, they got Clowney in the building, who is coming off of a big season. He's older, but I mean, he's from Carolina, so he probably wanted to play there.
Yeah.
Josie Jewell, that's who they picked up to replace Frankie Louvu.
Yep.
They added Robert Hunt, guard from the Dolphins, added Deontay Johnson via trade, drafted Jonathan Brooks, the Texas running back who people are really high on. I probably think he's a year away from being impactful for this team just because he's coming off a knee injury.
Yep.
You took a first-round wide receiver and Xavier Legette, who seems, I don't know what he's going to be in the NFL, but he's a big-bodied dude that seems to be like a gadget guy. And then
I hope he's good, dude. He's freaking funny to watch.
Yeah, he is fun. He's got the craziest accent. And then probably the biggest thing that they did this season was add Dave Canales, who was the Buccaneers offensive coordinator last season, who like legitimately made their offense tick and made Baker Mayfield like look really good. And
yeah,
I think that that's a big W. You talk about it all the time about, and if you want to add to it, like if you're able to get an offensive like guru in the building, it's almost better than getting a defensive one because you're not going to lose that guy. So I like him pairing up with Bryce Young.
Yeah, I mean, I think after last year, they had to do a couple things in order to, like, last year was a year that you basically have to just wipe from your memory bank if you're the Panthers, because you had nobody for him to get the ball to. The offensive line wasn't great, and the play calling / like offensive coordinator situation wasn't great. They brought in a head coach that didn't, like, the head coach didn't even want them to have Bryce Young. So like it was pretty much doomed from the start.
I by the way, I'm not buying that, respectfully.
Fair enough, but
it's so easy to, after the fact, to sit
I
around and be like, they spent the entire offseason doing their due diligence on where to go. And I know for a fact that right when they traded for the first overall pick, that the assistant GM for the Panthers, I'm not going to say who texted who, but he texted somebody and it was pretty much just like confirmed. Like they knew that they were going to take Bryce Young. It was undoubtedly they were taking Bryce Young with the first overall pick. They knew that months before the draft even happened. It's easier now to sit back and look when CJ Stroud had like that really successful season and be like, oh yeah, like we wanted CJ Stroud and like couldn't get him. Well, Frank Reich, you were taking naps at the building and people were walking in on you. So how about you lock in?
Well, what I was going to say on top of that was, like, it's not good that he was coming out even at the end of the season or whenever that rumor came out about him not wanting Bryce Young. Like, it's good that that's gone was what I was like trying to get to, is you have somebody that wants to be there and has somebody that wants to coach Bryce Young.
Sorry, that always fires. It's the same shit that fires me up with like Peyton, where he was like, oh yeah, like I said, like if Mahomes was going to be on the board at 12, like I'd take Mahomes. It's like, shut up. Like it's so easy to say that now because no one can fact check it. You can say whatever you want. It's just like,
right. And I wouldn't want a guy like that in the building, which they no longer have. So like, that's what I was working my way to. But yeah, that I think getting all of those bad vibes out of there is a good start. And bringing in a guy that really changed Baker Mayfield's career pretty much, I would say, last year.
I think so. Got him paid.
It's a big move. So I really like what they did as far as getting some guys to help out Bryce Young and kind of put this offense in the right direction for this upcoming season.
I want to touch on the Bucks real quick last season, and I know we're going to talk about them at some point, but it really needs to be overstated what Dave Canales did, because at the beginning of last year, the Bucks were like last in odds to win the division. Everybody hated them. Like nobody was speaking highly of the Bucks, and they went out and outperformed every expectation. And I think that Dave Canales was a big reasoning for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I think a name that you didn't touch on was, did you say Damian Lewis too?
I did not.
Guard, and then Jordan Fuller, safety.
Okay.
Yeah, two other guys.
Jordan Fuller's okay.
Yeah, two other guys that you're adding to. Well, I think the biggest thing is just getting some better offensive linemen in there. I think the Robert Hunt move was great. and is certainly going to help. I think getting a couple more weapons, getting a new OC, like we already touched on, was huge. So I like what they've really done so far. Besides getting rid of Brian Burns, I've liked this offseason.
Bro, if they didn't get rid of Brian Burns, like I'm really high on this team. Like I like what they did. I like who they added. I kind of think that their wide receiving core is like decent now that you add like Deontay Johnson and Xavier Legette in the same offseason. It just gives you more flexibility at that position. I really like everything that they did. All right, so weaknesses. I just put the owner. I think their owner obviously is putting them in a weird spot. I mean, that he dumped a drink on a fan. He went into that one restaurant and like took that dude's hat off. Like, it's just like, bro, like you're so wealthy and rich, and like you hear stories of him like passing notes to the head coach about like plays that they should run. Like at a point, like he needs to realize that he's a big hurdle in this situation, and he probably should take a step back. But right now,
he should just shut the hell up and stay out of the like the less people that know who you are, probably the better.
At this point too, the bad press that he gets, it's just like, dude, at a point you just need to let us do and just do what we need to do. And I saw a video, I didn't watch it, I just read it, so sorry, but I saw that that his wife was in the draft room like giving draft advice.
I saw that too.
I don't know what that means, but it just feels like you own the team, and I understand that you're going to have a level of care for it, but you're also hiring all these people who are extremely high level at what they do, and you wouldn't be paying them all this money and having them have these titles if you weren't going to allow them to do their jobs. So like, stop micromanaging and like stop making this weird. But maybe the Panthers can turn around at some point. But right now their weaknesses, they have a lot of weaknesses, but the biggest one is the owner.
Yeah, I got a couple things here that I want to just mention as far as like what I think they can really focus on, like keys to success wise for this upcoming season. So like I have here that I don't think that Bryce Young is going to make some incredible leap this year. I think he's going to be better than last year for sure, but I think they just need to continue to let him grow and let him build chemistry with these guys. Make sure that you keep bringing quality guys in the building to play alongside of him. The last season, just pretty much treat this almost as his rookie year, because last year was so bad. You almost don't you don't even know what you have with him really. And I think they did a good job of that. So I also have here to continue to be really solid in pass defense. They were actually really good at that, which kind of surprised me. So yeah, I think you got to keep up with that. They were third in pass yards given up per game. They only gave up 171 passing yards a game. I got here, figure out ways to generate turnovers as a defense. I know that's not easy, but like they were last in turnovers and takeaways. So I would love to see them jump up in that number a little bit. And then eliminating the penalties that's like an easy thing that you can work on in an offseason, is just being disciplined as a unit. And that's not something that takes skill. It's just knowing know what you have to do, knowing the down, knowing the situation, and being aware of what's going on. You could be Lawrence Taylor, or you could be fucking Josh Edmond, and
he was special.
And it doesn't take it. The talent piece of that doesn't matter. So if you can eliminate penalties, that'll obviously help you in the long run. So
I think that's definitely fair. So what makes them special then, I guess, is my next question to you, because I have no clue. I just feel like this team has so much to prove that I can't really point my finger on what makes them special.
I don't think they do anything special as a team that was 2-15.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's an insane thing to say, because there's not a lot of bright spots on this team. Like I said earlier, their defense was okay, but if you go through and look at it, they had some games where they just got like absolutely blown out too. So I don't really think this team does anything special. Does anything special as of like based off their information from last year. So like I really think we kind of have to wait and see what happens with them this season. But as of right now, I don't have anything that they do special.
All right. Me and you
also, I think we need to study the fall off of Miles Sanders.
He wasn't good with the Eagles. You're going to see the same thing with DeAndre Swift this year. He's not good either. Like
he was much better than these last 2 years, 3 years, however long he's been with Carolina.
We knew Miles Sanders wasn't good for a long time. When you go out in a season and lay 0 touchdowns as a running back, as a starting running back in the NFL, you're not good. Plain and simple. Sorry.
Okay.
But it's true. I mean, he's just never been good. I mean, he's the third string running back on this team. At a point, you should probably just cut him and let him go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because you gave him a contract for whatever reason. So 2024 predictions. I completely disagree with you. I think Bryce Young's going to have a big second year. I think he's going to have a breakout year. I mean, this is a way better offense. You upgraded the offensive line. You upgraded the receiving core. You have Adam Thielen, Deontay Johnson, and then you draft Xavier Legette. You have Tommy Tremble at tight end. You have Jonathan Mingo at wide receiver. I like some of the pieces that they have on offense. And then you have like those veteran presences like Adam Thielen, who's played for a million years, and Deontay Johnson, who's played for a while. And like I said, adding Dave Canales, fuel to the fire. I think you're going to see this offense look completely different this year, because if you watch some of the highlights from Bryce Young when things were going right for him, which it wasn't much of the time because of how bad this offense was as a unit, not just because of him, he can make some really special throws. So I think we'll see Bryce Young have a nice second year breakout. It's kind of reminding me a little bit of like the 2021 Jacksonville Jaguars when they went like 3-14. Urban Meyer was their head coach. It was an absolute dumpster fire, and Trevor Lawrence looked like shit. And it was just like, it was a bad environment. They went out, added talent around him, and it was a completely different team. I don't think it's going to be that high of a jump as Trevor Lawrence, but I think that he's going to have a pretty solid season. And this might sound really crazy. I just like don't hate this roster like at all. I don't hate their defense, don't hate their offense. And I think that in this division, I think the Falcons are going to be a lot better, obviously. I think the Bucks got worse. I think that the Saints got worse. That those two rosters are just rosters that they want to fire the head coach. They want to rebuild, but for some reason they're not able to do it. I think this is the year that you see the Saints completely fall off, by the way. I think the Bucks take a step back. I don't know. I think that I could see this team getting to 6 or 7 wins and being second or third in this division. I don't love anything about this division, so I'm not going to sit here and say that they're not able to turn this around. I think that they can.
I want to stress this enough. We have not discussed what we think the record of these teams are going to be prior to any of these videos. I have them going 7-10.
Like, all right, well, I don't know then. Like, we legitimately did not. We got off of a call together to prep on these, and we both have them winning 7 games. So I don't know.
Do you want to know what the 7 wins are that I have?
Yeah, go ahead.
I've got them winning at New Orleans, splitting with New Orleans, beating Washington, beating Denver, beating the Giants, splitting with Tampa Bay, beating the Cardinals, and beating the Falcons.
I don't know. So all right. So let's start with this, since we both kind of feel the same way. So out of the Bucks and the Saints, like, I know we're going to touch on them, so let's not go too deep, but it sounds like you feel like that they're way worse this upcoming season.
I don't feel like either one of those teams was really that great last year. So I just think the Panthers got that much better that I think it's not an unreasonable thing for them to split this, like the season series with those two teams.
Yeah, I'm right there. I'm 100% with you on that. And as for like what I said about Bryce Young, like how do you feel about that? Because I use like the Trevor Lawrence example because I feel like it's the most relevant example that we have like in recent memory where he went out, had a bad first year. They got Doug Peterson in the building. They went 9-8 the next season, and he had a significant jump. And he was like, obviously, like you'd be like, okay, like that's what he looks like. And what I'm thinking is like, if Dave Canales can make fucking Baker Mayfield look good, and I know we're sitting here, I understand that Mike Evans is supremely more talented than every receiver on the Panthers. But like I said, I just think that Canales can get the best out of Bryce Young.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair comp, but on a lesser level. When I said like I don't think he's going to have like a breakout year, that's more so like I'm more so meant like that Trevor Lawrence going from 3 to 9 wins. Like
going from
7
going
wins?
from 2 to 7, like I mean that's pretty good. I just think
think, but I also think this Carolina defense is
they're decent,
pretty good too.
If they can stay healthy, which they've had problems doing, like JC Horn, like I want to see him play a full season because I think he can be special.
I do,
but I'm right with you. Like it just feels like it feels like they're going to benefit from being in a division where there's some teams that kind of like don't have much direction, and it feels like this offseason, as much hate as they get, as bad as last year was, it seemed like that the coaching staff and the GM and everybody in that building kind of had a plan and kind of were like, let's get some good players in the building, which they did. Let's beef up the offensive talent. They did. Let's beef up the O-line. They did all of that. And like I said, honestly, if they don't get rid of Brian Burns, like I love this offseason. I haven't thought about the Panthers once until we did this deep dive. And I was like low-key pretty impressed.
See, as I think about this situation, like as I think about what I said earlier about how the Panthers like might not be good for like 5 years.
Yeah.
I like didn't really process, like I know he went to the Giants, but I didn't really think that in depth about the Giants either. I think realistically, we could see the Panthers probably having more wins than the Giants in 3 years.
No doubt.
So that makes even less sense to me as to why they would send him to New York.
I mean, bro, you give me, if I'm looking at this objectively currently, if I'm looking at what the Panthers have and the Giants, I'd much rather be where the Panthers are than where the Giants are.
Yeah.
I just would.
Yeah, they're paying Daniel Jones $40 billion.
And I don't know how people feel about Bryce Young. I think he's going to be good. I don't think there was nothing last season that made me like feel uncomfortable about Bryce Young. I just think he was in a shitty situation. And if you look back over time, like in general, majority of the time, first year QBs like in the NFL don't fucking play well.
Yeah, they don't show up like CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I just think everything was kind of inflated because CJ Stroud was in the same draft. But I don't like, listen, he was taken first overall for a reason. And I watched a lot of Bryce Young because I'm a fan of him. And this last season, at times, I think he can make those throws. I think he's good. He is small.
He is small, but so is Kyler Murray, which you also love, but they both have cannons. So if you can just keep them upright, we'll see. Give them somebody decent to throw the football to, like
we'll be in business.
Could be in business. But with that being said, yeah, I think they go 7-10. So
this might be our first hot take officially of the 32 because I feel like people are gonna massively disagree. I think people probably still feel like, oh, like the Panthers can only win 2 football games. Like every year it's so varianced on who's the bottom half of the league. Like there's going to be teams who you think are going to be the middle half who like drastically underperform. And then teams who you think are at the bottom, like overperform. Like the guys who are at the top kind of, they vary, but like we kind of think like, okay, the Niners are going to be good. The Chiefs are going to be good. Like blah, blah, blah. But like, I don't think that the Panthers are going to come out and win two games again. Like, I just don't think that.
No, I don't think the Panthers are going to be the 2-win team of this season.
No. So, hey, if Panthers fans see this, you guys are going to fuck with us hard.
Yeah, we're trying to get good with Carolina.
So now we have like secretly like I'm a Panthers fan, I guess, this season. I just personally would like to see Bryce Young succeed. He is one of my favorite like quarterbacks who have come into the league probably since like Kyler Murray, who I like really like a lot. So I would like to see it work out.
I mean, I'm indifferent about it. I'm indifferent about him. Like, I don't hate him, I don't love him, but I like Xavier Legette, so I kind of want him to turn into Debo, but less dramatic.
That's fair. Damn, dude, Debo catching shots. All right, so Panthers. Me and Noah both had 7 and 10 without talking about it, which is insane. And from the sounds of it, then that would be like second or third in the division. Honestly, second, it sounds like.
Yeah, I feel like the winner of that division is probably going to be like have 9 wins, 9 or 10 wins.
Yeah, 9 or 10 wins. I'm right there with you. All right, so bam, 2024 prediction for the Carolina Panthers. Panthers fans, I hope you find this video.
Good luck.
Audio Jungle.